Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Dave and today we're going to be putting some more rows of lavender down in the lavender patch. I've got 3 rows over here that we've put in previously, and if you've been watching our videos you would have seen various videos of preparation, planting and then weed mat. So it's been great weather lately. It's actually the middle of winter here in Australia. And we haven't had any rain for like 2.5–3 weeks. Beautiful blue sky days and about 20 degrees Celsius. So the ground has actually dried out a lot, and I'm going to take the opportunity today to put some more rows in. So I'm going to put 3 in. So I've got a row going in here, another row in here, and a 3rd row in here. So when we have that done, we'll actually have 3 new ones and the 3 old ones. So the first thing I've got to do is actually just measure out where I want the rows to be, and the spacing I started doing when I put the lavender in was 2.5 meters apart. That just basically allows me room to get a vehicle down here if I need to bring in gravel, and also when we pick the lavender we'll be able to sort of put it directly into a vehicle, and it also allows me to mow the grass. So I've kept grass between the rows. I quite like the look of that, to have the grass there. So having it a little bit wider just allows us to mow down the centre there a bit. So I've started off today just with my tape measure, and I've measured it out, and we've just measured up to 2.5 meters. So what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of I've got a stake here. I'm just going to put this in this point here, and I'm going to go up the other end, measure the same distance, and I haven't got a stake but I do have a bit of steel. Put that up the other end, and then I'm going to run a string line, and the idea of this is that I'm going to mark the center of where each row is, and I'll sort of explain why I'm going to do that when we are on the tractor. So I've got my spray marker to mark out where my string line is. It's nice bright orange, and on this grass yesterday I put some organic weedicide on it just to knock the growth back. I mean, the grass is pretty well dormant or dead at the minute anyway because it is the middle of winter. So I may not have needed to spray it, but I just thought it might help a little bit with limiting the regrowth that may come back. Anyway, so I'm just going to put some lines here every sort of 3 feet or so. Not too worried if I get it on my string line, because it was actually orange at some stage, but it's not orange anymore. The daylight sort of has got into it and it's faded, so I'll have a bit of a patchy string line. I put on the Hayes rotary tiller on the back, and you may have seen this in action in some of our earlier videos when we prepared the rows for the lavender over there. So this is just on 1 meter wide. It's quite a narrow tiller, but it's ideal for making the lavender beds up. It's not too wide. It's obviously driven by PTO driven, 3-point linkage, and I've got it on my John Deere 2025R tractor. And what my orange lines are for is, you'll see them on the grass there, is I start off with basically the lines that are there, and they go through the middle of the bucket, through the middle of the tractor, as I've got a park there. And what I use as a line of sight are these quick connect couplers here. That's basically the dead middle of the bucket. So what I can do is, when I'm on the tractor, is I don't know if you can see it there, I can look down where those connectors are there, and you'll see the orange lines disappearing up the row. So if I can keep, it's sort of like a line of sight really, like a rifle sight. So I just basically make sure those orange lines are going down the middle of my quick connects, and that should give me a nice straight row that's 2.5 meters across from that row there. Welcome back, it's a new day, and it's the first day of spring. It's September the 1st, 2022 in the Hunter Valley, New South Wales. And we're back on our rows that we've just finished off with the rotary tiller. And I did this with the tractor and the tiller probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. They've been sitting there. There's been no real new grass growing through. I actually treated this with a natural herbicide to kill the grass in there, so that's looking quite good. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in some new lavender plants, and they've actually just turned up yesterday, so I'm in a bit of a hurry now to get the soil ready to put them in. So what we're going to put in is some more of this variety here, and these are the intermediate variety. These are the Grosso plants, so these ones are slightly bigger. They grow to about 1 metre high, 1 metre wide. The 2 rows over there are the traditional English lavender, so these are a little bit smaller. But in putting the 2 in, the Grosso plants just seem to grow a little bit better. And when I put these in, I think there's about 18 in that row. I put them in and they all grew, none of them died. Whereas in the traditional English lavender plants over here, there's a couple of holes where some of them had died, and I've had to sort of replace them. So I thought I'd stick with the Grosso plants, and that's what I've ordered. I've ordered 50, and they turned up a bit quicker than I thought they would. They turned up yesterday, so they're just in the sun at the minute, getting a bit of sun exposure on them to harden them up before I put them in. So this is the soil after we've tilled it, and if I squeeze it up in my hand, you can see that it actually does stay in a bit of a ball. So it does have some clay in there, which I need to address. The tiller gets down to about 6 inches in the soil, so it's quite soft underneath there, which is good. So what we're going to add to our soil today is initially some gypsum clay breaker, and we're going to treat that across the soil, and that's just going to help to break up that clay that's in the soil, make it a little bit better. Second addition is garden lime. So lavender plants love the lime, so I'm going to put this in at a rate of about 150 grams a square metre, something like that. And that's going to raise the pH up, make it a bit more alkaline, which is what the lavender plants like. And I'm also going to add some dynamic lifter pellets, and this is quite a mild fertiliser. It's quite good for natives, and I've used it on lavender plants before, and they seem to go okay in it. It's not too strong, so it doesn't burn the roots, and it sort of helps develop the soil. The other thing I've got to put in the soil is I'm going to go and get some loads of some more rich organic garden soil, put it on the top of all of this, and then run over it again with the tractor and the rotary tiller and mix it all through, and then that'll be about ready. Then I can then start to heap it up and get it ready to put my plants into. So this is the gypsum. The bags I have are 15 kilogram bags, and the rate this goes on is about 1 kilogram per square metre. So these rows I've got are a bit less than a metre wide, and they're 22 metres long. So ish about 22 square metres, something like that. So the bags that I've got, the 15 kilogram bags, I'll just put 1 bag on per row. It's probably a little bit under the recommendation, but that'll do fine. So it just looks like a sand, almost like a builder's sand or a bricky sand, but that's what it is. So all I do is just get it on and then start spreading it on the top and try and work it out that I've got a full bag per row. So I'll just get on and do that. That's what the soil looks like when the gypsum's on it. So I just sort of spread it out by hand, and it worked out exactly right that I had enough in the 1 bag to do the row. So that's the gypsum. Next thing is to put on the lime. So again, this looks a bit like sand. It's different from what you would expect if you're using a agricultural lime that is more of a powder. I've used the powder in the past, but it's quite messy and it tends to sort of blow everywhere, whereas this stuff is quite good. You can just spread it on and it stays there. So this is a garden lime. The rate on this I'm going to use is about 150 to 200 grams per square metre. So probably two cupful hands per square metre. The soil is quite heavy, so a 5 kilo bag will do very nicely for my 22-ish square metres of the row. So I've just put the lime on, and the lime you can see is the lighter colour material there. So roughly 2 handfuls per square metre. And what that'll do is I've previously tested this soil on a pH scale, and it's about 5.5, something like that. It's a little bit acidic. So by adding the lime to it at this rate, it'll lift that pH up about 1 unit. So it'll lift it up to about 6.5 to 7, which is the ideal range for happy lavender. This is the dynamic lifter, so it's in a pelletized form. And basically what it is, it's a mixture of chicken manure, seaweed, blood and bone, and fish meal. And we use a lot of it here on the farm, not only on the lavender but in our veggie crops and other plants. It seems to be a great product that tends to do well on a lot of different plants. Okay, so the last piece that I'm going to put in my rows is some organic soil. So this is some soil I've picked up in the mini dump, and this is just down the road, and it's a rich organic mix. It's got some cow manure and compost and all good things in it. So I'm going to just put that on the top of the beds that I've got. So you can see that I've just put it on there. I'm not putting a lot on because I don't want to make the soil too fertile or too good. The lavender tends to like soil that's pretty bad, but just adding this small amount of good soil on the top, when I mix it in with the tiller, it'll mean that I've got probably about 20% to 30% good soil, and then the rest is the natural soil that's underneath. So I found with the last lot of lavender I did that worked pretty well, that they're quite happy and growing quite well. So that's what we're doing. We just get the rest out of here, out of the mini dump, and I'll probably need maybe a half a load to do the last row over that side. Well, that was good. I got 2 rows of rich organic soil out of that one load in the mini dump. So I think there were 2 scoops in that, and I think the guy at the landscape place was saying that that is about 500 kilos, about half a ton, and it filled the back of the mini dump basically up the sides, and it worked really well. What I really like actually with this, I didn't dump it of course, but the sides fold down so you can just shovel the soil out and directly onto the ground. So these sides are sort of multi-use, that they can do this, which is pretty good. And then to get them back in, you just basically lock that in there and then lock this one in here, and then you're right to go again. Put that down there, that's locked in, and then the sides are up and away we go. So I love the versatility of that. It makes it much better than just having a tipper body where you don't have to sort of shovel in and then shovel out. You can just drag it off sideways. So that was the first test of picking some soil up from the landscape place, and a big tick so far. That was just a light pass with the tiller on the tractor, quite low revs, just to mix it in. So this is what I ended up with here. So the material's quite loose. It goes down quite a long way. All the additions that I put in there this morning are all nicely mixed together. It's still very clayey in parts, but the gypsum that I put in will slowly work on that and break down that clay component a little bit better. So the next thing is to, I want to sort of mound it up a little bit, and I do have like a furrow plough which I can use, but it's a bit of a pain to take it on and off the tractor. So I think I'll just get out my hand hoe and a rake, and I'll start to do it by hand, I think. After I mound the row up, I just run over it with my rake and just give it a bit of a press down the side, because there's some rain coming for the next 4 or 5 days, and I just want to make sure that I don't lose a lot of this soil running away. So I'll just press it down a little bit, and that'll just keep it nice and tight if it does rain. Well, I'm really happy with what we've managed to do in the last couple of days. We've brought the tractor and the tiller in, prepared the rows, we've put some additions in the soil to make the soil quality better, and we've also been to the landscape supplier and brought in 2 truckloads of rich organic mix. So we've mixed all that into the soil, we've just mounded the rows up, and the next step, which will be in the next video, is putting the weed mat over the new rows and finally planting some new lavender. So that's going to be pretty exciting. I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the section below, and we'll see you next time.